Okay, cool. So we'll get going. I want to talk about this. It's actually a really important topic, and it's probably going to be helpful, but for what it's worth, talking about surviving crypto winter. Who's been in crypto for longer than 5 years? Longer than like 4 years? 2 years? Who's new to crypto, like brand new? My man. All right, nice. Okay, cool. Well, basically, crypto winter is the idea that, you have these bull markets, and then on the other side of it, everything goes dark, everything gets really cold, everyone's businesses start closing, and everything starts falling flat on its face, and Bitcoin dies, Ethereum dies, and everyone thinks the party's over. Just a quick summary for us. We started in 2013, so this is crypto winter number 2.5 for us. We work with really awesome companies. We've done a lot of transaction volume. We focus on bridging the gap between fiat and crypto, so processing payments. We process payments for large exchanges. We process payments for institutions, and then we process payments for dApp developers. So the whole spectrum. So the idea about talking about this is just surviving crypto winter, what it is, what it's going to look like for you guys as developers or enthusiasts in the space. And I'm just going to go through it piece by piece, and then I'm going to give you some examples of crypto winter and how that's affected other teams, and there might be a couple of surprising examples for you. All right, so how do people go into a crypto winter? People raise a shit ton of money really, really easily. And if you're not familiar with 2017, but I think everyone is, basically in 2017, there was, over $2 billion in capital injected into crypto teams. So what happens is people start vaporizing money really, really quickly. So I don't know if anyone went to Consensus this week, but that's actually Justin's son from Tron. So is anyone here a big fan of Tron? Raise your hand. Yep, big fan. Okay, awesome. Typically what's happening is you raise a lot of money and then you're going to spend a lot of money to buy traction. So I use Tron, but another great example is going to be Ripple. If you see Ripple has done XYZ or a pilot program with ABC Bank, typically a lot of that comes to sort of generate the flywheel of traction. So there's not as much substance underneath it. As well, a lot of teams that are doing really good work and they're actually building great product, they end up finding crypto winter very, very challenging because they've got really long sales cycles. So for entrepreneurs, we've experienced this firsthand as well. A huge company says, hey, we want to partner with you, we want to use your product, we want to use your service, whatever it is, and then they just string it along. And obviously we know, as developers and people in the startup community, shit moves really, really quick. Just 5 minutes ago, someone was like, no, don't bother emailing me. Just text me or do something, telegram me because it's way faster. And so when you get engaged with all these really big companies, whether it's a PayPal type or it's some big bank that's going to promise the world, you're not really a priority to them. So teams end up falling down this illusion of MOUs and all these other acronyms that basically promise traction in the future, and it's really unfortunate because it's actually really heartbreaking because a lot of very talented people rely on this, but it's really insignificant to the big company. And then the last one is over-engineering. The reality is you have got it wrong, you are wrong, and you're going to be wrong again. Don't bother over-engineering it. Hack it together and figure it out. Really, really good example is, who's heard of InstaDApp? No? Sick. Awesome. People I work with. Basically, InstaDApp is a hackathon project from last year's ETH India. So we're at ETHNewYork. This was in ETH India, and that's literally what it was. And now they're one of the most promising dApps in the space. If you look at Uniswap, which is an exchange where you swap different ERC20 tokens, those guys, now it's 3 people, but that was 1 person for the longest time. And it was like a hackathon project, really. So that's because they're shipping very quickly and iterating very quickly. So that's a super, super key point is don't over-engineer shit. Has anyone here heard of Hashgraph? Yep. Cool. So Hashgraph is not live yet, I don't think, is it? Are they public? Are they live? No? Okay. Yeah, a lot of teams build brilliant products, like brilliant scientific products. But if you are over-engineering it and you are too scientific about it, you're going to assume that you know every single parameter that's going to make your system work or every single want and need. And the reality is you can't predict that stuff. So it's not even a point in trying it. Think MVP and don't think overly scientific. Okay, welcome to winter. What does winter look like? It's really fucked, by the way. Pardon my language, sorry for this. So basically, there's a few things that come to mind. You're going to have unhappy investors. Obviously, everyone raised, the people that raise money in ICOs, they've got hundreds of thousands of investors. Some people have, a handful of investors. All these people are under the illusion, or not under the illusion, they're under the promise or the dream or the vision that you're selling as a founder or as an entrepreneur. They want to see that come to fruition. So when deadlines are kicked back or pushed back, when pivots start happening, it introduces all this sort of confusion around, how reliable is it going to be? So there's a really good word, anticipantment. I'm extremely familiar with it because just always disappointing people. Not really, just my parents. Internal challenges. So when shit's going badly, everyone starts thinking all loopy. Not loopy, but just like indecision, confusion, uncertainty. Everything becomes more difficult. So team members fight, founders go separate ways. It just makes everything really difficult. And the worst part about it as well, you're now behind square one. So you're going to wish you had the chance to start fresh, and you don't have the chance to start fresh, basically. So those are money emojis flying into a trash can. I just realized I left those there. So just don't vaporize money, basically. So what's actually going to happen? So I just sort of touched on it. If you raise money from investors, so let's say you raise money from Consensus, or you raise money from Andreessen Horowitz, or you're raising money on the public markets, you pretty much get one bullet. And if you execute extremely well, it's going to be very, very simple to get more bullets from them for the next venture that you want to do. But if you're wrong and you've articulated this really perfect dream because you're so sure of yourself and you're so sure of everything, then you are going to have a really hard time finding that money again. So where do people go? People go and shake hands with the devil, so to speak, because there's no money left in town. What they do is they now have to go and speak with competitor chains, so to speak. So let's call EOS a big evil nemesis of Ethereum. But EOS has a lot of money, and they want what you're building on Ethereum to be moved over to EOS, or to be compatible with EOS. So everyone's heard of EOS. Cool. Nice. Okay. Tron. Imagine Tron. Justin Sun wants you to move to Tron. And they're like, fuck, I'm out of money. It's like, Andreessen, don't make me do it. I really like Ethereum. It's like, come to Tron. Like, in like sort of a hypnotizing kind of way. And so it's like, it's against a lot of people or a lot of founders' sort of original motivations and stuff like that. That's why it sort of looks like a shaking hands with the devil. Talent starts leaving. Remember, when everyone's sort of topsy-turvy and all shit's hitting the fan, we don't know what's going on, uncertainty is going to find all those question marks resulting in talent leaving. So, I mean, I've got a picture of Balaji. He's the CTO at Coinbase. Obviously, Coinbase is a fantastic company, and they've executed it's like absolutely incredibly. But recently, he left, and he was the CTO. Before that, Dan Romero left, and then their head of risk and payments left. And you've seen this sort of trickle out. Now, what's going on under the hood? Not sure, but as competition heats up, as market uncertainty becomes more apparent, and all these kind of question marks, people don't think rationally. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it's an irrational move for them to leave. I'm saying any kind of issue is amplified significantly when you're under the pump, basically. The pressure's on. And then the last one, like I just said, you're behind the 8 ball. Like, you're gonna wish you could start fresh. And now you've got to kind of reclaim yourself, reinvent yourself, and then get back to square zero. And now it's like, now it's an even playing field with the new entrepreneur that's coming into the space that's really excited and enthusiastic. Oh, fuck, sorry. Does that make sense? Cool. Just interrupt me, like literally interrupt me if there's anything that makes sense, or you want to talk about something else. What's good about a crypto winter? If you avoid all the previous stuff and you manage expectations successfully, or you manage your financing successfully, it actually opens up a huge amount of opportunities so that the teams that do well are actually going to be doing exponentially well. It's the time where you can basically take something that's worth 1 and make it worth 5 for your company long term. So you basically can get a lead. Winters aren't forever. The reality is, crypto winter after 2013, Bitcoin went to $1,245 November 28th in 2013. Then it basically drained down. Tons of VC money went into the space, and tons of VC money basically ended up getting vaporized. So that winter, because it's a brand new technology, that winter offers nothing for anyone really. Exchanges can't operate because the base layer of people, trading crypto or anything like that doesn't exist yet. So they haven't even built a core base. And now that means basically it's like a crypto winter global warming equivalent. The more crypto winters you go through, the more of a base is built. So, we had these crazy years like 2017, which are basically going to go, $700 to a $20,000 coin, and then it comes down to, say, $3,000. It's, 20 steps forward, 15 steps back. So it's gradually building the base. So anyone that starts a company now, they have a way bigger audience to work with than someone starting in 2014 or 2015. The total addressable market is growing, and that's a natural function of technology adoption. When shit's hitting the fan, like when things are good and they're crazy, people have support tickets out the wazoo, everything is on fire, not in a bad way, but just people don't even know what's going on. There's just so many things happening. So if you're in the middle of 2017, you would pray for just like a week's worth of silence on support tickets so that you could actually focus on building product and shipping product instead of focusing on cleaning up house. Sorry, yeah, okay, that was meant to be a broom emoji, but it's not. And then got talent. Basically, people are talented. Like I think almost every single person here, this room specifically, but every single person in the ecosystem or interested in the topic is talented at something. Now, even if let's say they raise $100 million and the company goes to shit, or the project goes to shit and they lose all their money, it doesn't mean that they're not talented. It means that they're not talented at what their role was. So there's brilliant engineers that find themselves who are sitting on huge amounts of money, being expected to deploy this capital successfully and not being able to do so. That doesn't mean that they're an amazing fit for another team or a CTO position in somewhere else. That's actually what happened with Balaji, the famous guy from Coinbase, who's the big CTO. He raised $116 million in the company that he was at. It was called 21 Inc. And it was basically a small device that was planned to be a mining chip for smartphones, toasters, and all this shit. I don't think toasters were actually on it. But the idea was that he was he's a very talented person, but he wasn't the best person to bring this huge amount of capital out into a 100x return on investment for the fund, which was Andreessen Horowitz. And so he went as CTO, and he did an exceptional job as a CTO at Coinbase. And so that's sort of, the opportunities that arise if you position yourself safely as a company, you can take advantage of crypto winters. Does that make sense? I feel like you had a question. Did you have a question?
I've got many, but they're all stupid.
Trust me, you have not met me yet. So yeah, if you've got a stupid question, feel free to fire it away, or you can ask after. But it's
So, like, what I don't understand
Fucking Matic. We're gonna go over and have to talk to them in a minute. Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think I mentioned it? No,
I think your wallet's that emoji at the moment. No, I'm kidding. They're very nice people in Matic, guys.
so, I get so confused in that way. I'm so new at the crypto stuff, and what's really going on? Does that make sense?
Me personally, well, I'm pretty tired. I went out last night. Yeah, no, I'm just joking. But what's really going on? Like, where's the actual substance to all this shit? Like, instead of people just throwing money at you and doing this and stuff like that, where's like the
Are they taking it seriously? Are they scared of it?
big
The power brokers, man.
yeah, they are. This is as serious as it gets, basically. Like, this is the biggest thing that they've ever seen in their life. And that's why there is so much excitement and enthusiasm from, like,
But are they scared of it, or are
they are horrified of it.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Then it no longer becomes power controlled, or it becomes decentralized as far as the control of capital. And then it is a true, in a way, like, kind of socialist prerogative.
Okay, thank you. See, that was kind of a dumb question.
Not at all. No, it's not at all. That's the thing about this space is we are all idiots. It's so early. I'm not saying you're an idiot. It's okay. It's just a matter of how enthusiastic you are. So newer people are going to know less. All right, survival skills. So basically, how do you prevent this shit from happening, or how do you not be part of it, or how do you not feel the pinch in crypto winter? Essentially, humility. Look, we already said everyone here is very smart. Everyone here is intelligent in their own right. The reality is, humility is the single most important skill that you can have in a space that doesn't have any answers, it doesn't have any certainty, and it doesn't have a track record. So if every single person here is absolutely brilliant, but they're not humble enough to admit that they could be wrong, that means that you're going to have a very difficult time staying agile and being adaptive to what the space is doing. Because of the amount of unknowns, you need to be quick to say that you're wrong. So yeah, basically you are wrong. You're going to be wrong many, many more times. So just get comfortable with it. Yeah, ability. Like, you got to have some sort of ability. If you're working on something that's relevant to your skill set, then that's obviously going to be advantageous. But ability doesn't just mean technical ability. Ability can mean networking ability, relationships, experience, all this kind of stuff. It's not just a technically driven world. In fact, it's probably the furthest industry from being technical only, because this industry is different from startups and that whole world. The whole world of traditional startups and early stage stuff, it's all about moving quickly. Well, the difference between startups and something like crypto is network based. So networks inherently rely on relationships, and the strength of those relationships is what keeps a network intact. So when it comes to technical abilities, obviously technical competency is very advantageous, but everything in crypto, because it's a value transfer network, it's all open source. So things are open source. It means there is no black box special secret sauce that you're selling. You are competing for someone else against their path to distribution. So if your network, the growth of your network and the strength of the connections in your network, that's your distribution. And the stronger they are and the wider they reach, the harder they become to displace. So almost that's your kind of defensibility or your secret sauce in this space. So yeah, it is very, very good to acknowledge your multifacets of skill sets, and that goes into teamwork. Obviously, teamwork is many hands make light work. So a lot of people, like I said, anticipantment before. There's another one of those sort of meshed amphibious kind of hybrid words, and it's called coopetition. So it's like where you're cooperating, but you're also competitors. the best teams, then the most successful teams will always work together. So if you look at, I just put like, that's balance, and that's an incredibly pixelated picture. Basically that says make it our compound finance and Dharma. And balance is building, a bank interface where it's leveraging all the other things that people have built and servicing that as a product. Have you guys heard of Revolut? Do you guys know what Revolut is? Cool. Okay, so Revolut is a digital bank. It's a digital bank aimed at being faster, smoother, slicker, cooler, friendlier, whatever, than Wells Fargo, Chase, blah, blah, blah. Revolut doesn't know shit about insurance, nor do they know anything about pension plans. They find the expert that knows about pension plans. So there's a service provider. They find the expert that knows about cross-border payments, and that might be TransferWise. And they stitch it all together because the person that you're trying to displace is so difficult to move. These are century-old, these are incredibly big financial institutions. You can't compete with them unless you all work together. And that's what's really important for surviving, is working together. It's not it's not an ego trip. So kind of tying that back with humility, it's not about your ego. It's about your position on where you stand with the technology. So are you for the technology or are you against it? And people that are for it should all be working together as much as possible, as frequently as possible, because everyone wins that way. History of wrong. So I said be wrong. It's really good to be wrong. And that's not like a circle jerky kind of tone in that. That's like legitimately just be really good at being wrong really quickly. Brian Armstrong, 2015, he said that, so Brian Armstrong, they only listed Bitcoin. They didn't have Litecoin, they didn't have Ethereum, they didn't have all the other altcoins way back in the day. That's because Brian and Fred were very adamant at the time that Bitcoin would be the winner, and the network effects that Bitcoin has gained over other competitive, cryptocurrencies or networks is too far ahead, and it's a waste of time. Anyway, so turns out they were wrong, and they were really, really good at adapting in that regard. But they had some quarrels internally, I think, where some people wanted to leave because they thought, oh, I thought this was Bitcoin only, and all these kind of things. But they were wrong. They acknowledged that, and they moved forward as quick as they could. And now, Coinbase probably arguably the biggest company in the world in the space. Itbit, who's heard of Itbit before? Okay, nice. Itbit's now called Paxos, so if you've seen PAX, the stable coin, that's Itbit. And Itbit were trying to sell their exchange business, this is public knowledge by the way, is they're trying to sell their exchange business for about 18 months, almost 2 years I think, and I could be wrong, but I think it's like over a year. They're literally trying to sell this exchange because they're like, oh my God, these things, crypto winter is busting their balls so bad that they're actually trying to get rid of it. Turns out 2017 happened, and that's the smartest thing ever, is having their exchange. And now the success of the company is largely derived from the traction that they had with their exchange being in the right place at the right time, essentially. Who's heard of an app called Bourbon? Nobody. Who's heard of an app called Instagram? Yep. Instagram was an app called Bourbon for photographing and logging beers, and basically you take a photo of your beer or your bourbon or whatever it is, and that was the original idea behind Instagram. And Instagram pivoted to be, okay, those photos, the photos that we're taking of the bourbon, the filters we put on them, maybe just make it for everyone. Let's put them for actual people just interacting. And so Kevin Sydstrom, I think it's Kevin Sydstrom, basically they pivoted to focus purely on photography-based social, or rich media social networking. Zuckerberg bought them for $1 billion 2 years later, who they were willing to pay $2 billion, and now it is worth over $120 billion, which is mental. Chain.com, has anyone heard of Chain.com? Cool. So Chain.com, they merged with Stellar last year, or they sold to Stellar. They were wrong too, and they were really embraced the wrong, and they ended up selling to Stellar last year, which was, I think it was reported like $400 million worth of Stellar, or like it ended up being $70 million worth of US dollars. I'm not sure what that is, but I'm just going by headlines. Yeah, so obviously, why I haven't mentioned us here, that's because we needed a whole page. We're like, yeah, we're really good. And in 6 years, you get pretty used to these kind of like, just taking the punches. We've done Bitcoin payment processing. So people right now, they think the number one thing is merchant adoption. You can't spend crypto anywhere. You can't spend, you can't spend Ethereum anywhere. You can't spend, it's got no like utility value. So we were doing that in 2013. We worked with Microsoft in 2015, where people would earn Bitcoin for searching with Microsoft. Anyone here use Bing? Yeah, neither. Well, I'm actually forced to because there's a bug on my phone with Google. But the reality was, Bing offers you incentive to search with them. It's like, oh, what's that cool hotel in that area? If you use Bing, it ticks up a point, and then you accumulate points, you can go redeem it. So we worked with Microsoft to allow Bitcoin as a redemption option next to PayPal credits, next to Amazon gift cards, things like that. We have done wallet management, APIs, so wallets like as an infrastructure, so for the people that are trying to build their own Coinbases or their own exchanges. We've done cross-border payments, and we've done, literally, talking about merchant adoption and like utility, we were so enthusiastic about it. We literally spoke to this team in China that built a custom iPad, not a custom iPad, but a custom Android tablet that had our software baked in. And we literally went around to San Francisco. We ordered 500 of them, and we wanted to basically make San Francisco the capital of spending and receiving crypto for merchants, because we thought that would really aggressively up the ante for people to get comfortable with it. Literally couldn't even give them away, and I'm not even joking. Like, I would walk in and be like, "Oh, is the manager there?" I'd be like, "Look, one of your guys came through the other day. We're fine, thanks." I'd be like, and like drop this iPad with like stickers and swag and shit, and then just like run out. They're like, "Man, we don't want your trash." That's how much it was like that. You could not give them away. So yeah. So anyway, that's us being a whole page of wrong, and I could go on like many more examples. But yeah, that is all I have on Crypto Winter. Does anyone have any questions? Does anyone have any stupid questions? I got a stupid question. Oh no, I'll save it.
I got a stupid question.
My man.
How many times do you use cryptocurrency every day for your daily needs?
Define needs.
Groceries,
Well, is spending for food consumption, or needs as in accumulating wealth?
take girls out.
Spending it like as a currency? Never. Almost never. Is that the only thing that it's good for, though?
I thought that was your goal. You just said that was your goal.
Oh, once upon a time it was. Once upon a time it was, but because we were always wrong, we had to change the goal, basically.
So what is your goal with cryptocurrency on a personal level?
Personal level. To basically give all the mistakes that we've made, wrap it up into a product, and make sure it doesn't happen again. Because if we've spent all this time making these mistakes, if we can help teams dodge those bullets in a really easy way and amplify their business, then that's what we want to do. How'd you hear about Tron, by the way?
I love sci-fi.
Oh, I'm a fan too.
Okay, my last question, and this is the really stupid one. What is cryptocurrency good for?
It is good for. It's a good way to incentivize machines to communicate with one another. If that makes sense.
Not to me.
Okay, let's think. That laptop, well, let's imagine two robots. two humans walking down the street, if I wanted to say, hey, can you go chuck this in the bin for me? Here's a $1 bill. Keep it. I'm in a rush. And you're like, sure, $1 is good for me, right? You want $1, so you go do it. Imagine those are two robots, and they can't do anything with $1. They're a robot. They don't need to go buy groceries and eat for themselves. They need maybe energy, or maybe they need something else like new parts. But they've got their own needs as machines. They operate differently. So maybe there's probably a million other better explanations in here.
I got one.
Hit it.